Good morning, everyone. Well, what a beautiful spring day to be out here at Good Morning Hudson. And welcome to Good Morning Hudson. My name is Mary Claire Olson-Poser, president of the Hudson Chamber, and we are so excited to have you here today. On this beautiful spring day, are we loving this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. So we are so pleased to welcome our panel of speakers today. You will find their bios on the back side of your agenda, so you can read all about them there. And if you do have a question for one of our panel of speakers, you have sheets of paper on your table, so just raise your sheet of paper and I will come by and collect those.
We'll
or
give you
Tyler
10
will.
minutes to read through the bios.
Yeah. Right, we wanted to have that available for them so that we could have more time for questions. So we do have some set questions that we'll have, and then we will take questions from the audience as time allows. So one of the many benefits of attending chamber events is the opportunity to make connections. So we are going to super quickly go around the room and have everyone say your name and your company. So that's what you get to do, and I'm going to start with Rick.
All right, Rick Fraser. I own Black Rooster Bistro downtown.
Mike Crawford, Access Security, Commercial Burglary Alarms, Camera Systems, and Access Control.
I'm Nicola Casey. I go by Micto. I'm with Seat Careers and Staffing.
Stacy Dove. I am also with Seat Careers Staffing.
We'll just continue this side of the room and then we'll zigzag. David.
Dave O'Brien, President of Hudson Boosters.
Jason Cheese, and that Director of Community Development, St. Croix County.
Kendra Graham, Pastor, First Presbyterian Church. Amy Hauser, Leach Sterling Insurance.
Dave Hauser, Royal Credit Union Chamber Ambassador.
Drew Nelson, Nelson Lindquist, Law Office.
Good morning, Megan Boldy, Excel Energy.
John Cranner, Excel Energy.
Parker Standard, Nelson Lindquist.
Melissa Meschke, Executive Director of St. Croix Economic Development Corporation.
Lauren Valentine, owner of Soqueen Janitorial Service and business consultant with the SBDC.
Nancy Besner, retired.
Tess Widener, ABC Supply.
Great. Justin?
Justin Whitford, Elite Entities, General Contracting.
David Ritter, I'm on the Chamber Board, Silver Financial.
Taylor McCarthy with Stack Builders, Operations Coordinator.
Julie Wilson, Bank 59, Mortgage Lender.
Jenny Larson, Bay 59 Mortgage.
Jen Holland, owner of Avant Builders.
I'm Matt Fiala with ABC Supply, not Aero Building Center, sorry. There's an Aero person in the room, but ABC Supply, we're fairly new to the Hudson area.
Donnie Morley, ABC Supply.
Sherry O'Connor with Bright Star Care, In-Home Care and Staffing. And we also are contracted with the VA.
Tony Fitz with ABC Supply. Nate Hochschild, Commander Hudson VFW, celebrating our 80th year in Hudson this year. All right.
All right.
Susie Coram, Keller Williams Realty.
Deb Pittman, GM of the Hampton, Chair of the Chamber this year.
Leanne Van Allen, University of Wisconsin River Falls and Willow River Cemetery Board.
Lisa Wolitz, Christian Community Homes and Services.
Chris Cost, YMCA, Chamber, Rotary.
Tyler, I'm the Events and Marketing Coordinator at the Chamber.
And a round of applause for Nate from River Channel for being here with us. So remember, as you're thinking of your questions, be sure you put them on those sheets. I want to thank Christian Community Homes for hosting us today. We so appreciate your willingness to be our venue sponsor and for the fabulous breakfast that you provided. And there is plenty of egg bake and fruit, so please get up and help yourself. You too could be a sponsor of an upcoming chamber event, so please see me after. There's a few folks that I might kind of go out and talk to about that opportunity, so never want you to miss that opportunity. We have a number of upcoming programs coming up next Tuesday on May 13th. We're doing our workforce seminar, Neil Klein, with family-friendly workplaces. We'll be discussing the workforce challenges and what's coming up in the next couple years. So we will be 8 a.m. at Valley Companies if you're able to join us. Our Let's Do Lunch. How many of you have joined us for Let's Do Lunch? All right, super fun event. We meet at noon at a local restaurant, and so that'll happen on May 21st. Our monthly Connections and Coffee will be on Tuesday, June 3rd at 9 a.m. at Citizens State Bank. And then if we have any golfers in the room, but even if you don't golf, you can still help us. Our golf outing will be on June 23rd at White Eagle Golf Course. So it'll be a picture-perfect day, just like today. And so we have placed that order and look forward to your participation in our golf outing on June 23rd. All right, those are the announcements for today. At this time, I'd like to welcome Chris Kost. He is chair of the Community Affairs Committee for the Hudson Area Chamber, and he will be moderating today's program. So a warm welcome to Chris.
Thank you, Mary Claire and Tyler in the back and Anna, who's not here today. We have an amazing chamber here, and it's all thanks to Mary Claire's leadership. 500 members, which is amazing. So give them a hand as well. We are excited to have all of you here today. This is one of our highlights every year when we get to meet the leaders, because it's not just Hudson. It is the communities surrounding us as well that are part of our area. And so we're grateful to have everybody here. And we have a new one this year joining us, just recently elected. So we are going to just do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to give them 3 minutes to share a little bit about them and an opening statement. So from the city of Hudson, we have Mayor Rich O'Connor. From the town of Hudson, we have Chairman Robert Fowler. From the town of St. Joseph's, we have Chair Theresa Johnson. From the town of Troy, we have Chairperson Doug Rowen. And from the village of North Hudson, we have President Stan Wekkin. And before we started, I asked all of them if I can call them by name, first name, so we can have a little bit more intimate setting here. So they've all said that, so I'm not being disrespectful by not calling them by their full names. So we'll call them by their first names. We would like to have each of you, and we're going to start with Theresa, give a quick opening statement about your community.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for having us here, because I think it's very important to have this dialogue, not only among us, but with you, because we're all part of this greater St. Croix Valley community. The town of St. Joseph has had some significant changes to it with that new bridge that came through a few years back, and it continues to impact us greatly. We have some of the last land available in the school district, and it continues to be developed. We are seeing new developments coming in yearly. We've got a major that just was completed last year, another major this year, and lots of smaller tracts being subdivided. The town of St. Joseph is well suited for this future in that growth, because we have great plans in place. We have great committees in place. One of the things that we have done is that we've instituted a finance committee, a technology committee, a public works, parks, trails, and rec. All these people that are in the town who have that talent have now served on those committees and can come forward with ideas and visions for the future, and learn what it takes to run a town, but also bring their expertise to the table and teach us on the board what we might have to know. I always say when I am at the technology committees that they talk a language that I don't understand, and when I have to bring this back to the board, they have to explain it to me in lay terms, because I don't get whatever that is that they're saying. We have good staff. We're lucky that we have staff in the town that are very stable and well-educated and very professional. And I have a fire department that brings a whole different aspect to the town. If you've been past the corner of E and V, you know we are building a brand new town hall. It is a big building. It's 100 by 62. The current town hall will be given over to our fire department. The new one's going to be open, cross my fingers, the end of June is the plan. It's a little bit behind schedule, a teeny bit over budget, but we're in a good position on that hall considering the size of it. And this will set the town forward for the next 40 years easily. So I really give the town and the town boards that I've worked with credit of being a visionary as to what would be needed in the future. That it can't sit still, it won't sit still, so you have to plan and make sure you look forward and get it done. So I do appreciate everything that they bring to the table and everything that we've been able to accomplish. I just got reelected. This will be my 15th year as chair. And I'm hoping that this might be my last term, and someone else will be able to take over the reins. There's a lot going on, but I think by that time we will be in a place that gets it, that will make it easier for the next people. That's really the big thing that makes it easier. So I'm excited. We're going to have an open house once we get the building done, and we'll invite everyone. It'll be fun. Thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't even have to use my 30-second sign.
Oh, good.
New this time, we have signs. So you're great. Thank you. Next, Rob, welcome as a newly elected official. So welcome to our meeting this morning.
Well, thanks for having me here. It's this is my first one of these events of any type, really, because the election was just not that long ago. We've only had a couple meetings so far. So about our community, Hudson Township, it's a rural community with lots of space. So everybody in our township, we have a minimum lot size, so it's a kind of spread out community. We have a corridor of good businesses right on exit 4. It is a great place to live. I've been there. I'm not native to here, but I've been there since 17 and just love it because I lived in St. Paul and I had enough. So, and I think what's interesting about our community is there's more and more people just like me coming to the community. And so the demographic is changing a little bit. And so, we got to welcome some new neighbors. And so that's going to keep happening in our township. And, what I ran on was basically 3 basic, simple issues. Maintain the rural and agricultural character of our town. The second piece was to become as transparent as possible with government so that people can participate more, get more information more clearly. And the third thing is just to make sure we have a customer service friendly experience at Town Hall. And so those were really simple issues. Change is really hard, I think, for a lot of folks. And so, coming in new as a young person at 51 years old is challenging to a lot of people. But I think that given my experience and working with the experienced people on the board and at Town Hall, that we can accomplish those 3 simple goals that I set out. And just pleased to be here. It's one of the sayings, you don't know what you don't know, right? So I still have plenty to learn and am looking forward to relying on the experience of our board members, but also kind of, recognizing our demographics are changing. I feel like I have a good enough background to be a quick learn. And so that's kind of my goal. And since I'm so new, I'm not going to take up too much more time.
Okay, you are set. Thank you. And next, Rich.
So we have a lot going on in Hudson. I think everybody understands the challenges, some of the bigger challenges that we have. We are at our geographic boundaries. Any type of growth that we're going to have in the future is going to be coming through annexation. And probably we'll be talking a little bit about what's on the horizon as we get further into the meeting here today. But I'd say that's our biggest challenge, is how do we grow? But what's going on right now in the city, everything that we have, frankly, are big ticket items, big money dollar spending items. You probably know that we have a new police station going in, or not going in, but we're developing, renovating the old Phillips Plastics building at Hanley, and what is it? Well, it's not 11th. Anyway, it's double H. It's on the corner. Hagen. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's costing us a lot of money to renovate that, to acquire and renovate it. Public Works, we identified a building in the business park and on the hill, and we're consolidating our 3 buildings into 1 building in the business park, and again, a big ticket item. Anybody that lives in the city saw that we had a 12% increase in taxes in the past year, and that was primarily due to the debt service for those buildings. And that was just the first round. We have a second round coming. Our operational expenses went up 2.3% last year. So when we have a tax increase of 12%, the remainder of that is all debt service, and that's still to come. We have more to come on that. Public Works, we have a number of other projects that are going on. Hopefully we'll have a splash pad in at White Camp Park by the end of the summer. You've probably seen what's going on 11th Street, you know, a lot of work there that's created some problems, consternation with traffic and detours and things like that. More street work being done on the east end of Vine Street, east of Carmichael. That'll happen later this summer, and then some other projects that are part of the capital improvement plan that'll be going on throughout the city. Our fire department, we have a big challenge there in that, really? Already?
Did he cut you off?
I think he did. We're gonna have to go full-time at some point, and that doesn't mean our entire force. We've got 40-some volunteers that are doing a fabulous job providing fire protection in our community, not just our community, but the town and the village as well, and 2 towns in the village as well. So it's, you know, we've got a great service, but it's gonna cost us more money. 11th Street Bridge, that needs to be redone, and again a big ticket item. So we've got some challenges ahead of us here, and hopefully I'll have some time to talk about that a little bit in the future.
There will be plenty of time. Some of those challenges are in the upcoming questions, so thank you, Rich. Doug, you're next.
So I'm Doug Rowen. I've lived in the town of Troy since 1999, so almost 26 years now. But I've been on the town board for 4 years, chairperson for 2, and just got reelected in April. For those that don't know where Troy is, it's basically everything between the city of River Falls and the city of Hudson. And we have the St. Croix River on the western side, so we are a coastal community. And that's one of our major geographic features, primarily a rural agricultural community. Secluded residential neighborhoods kind of hide away our 5,500 residents, which makes us the 4th largest municipality in St. Croix County. But most people don't notice that when they're driving through Troy, because it looks more like farm fields and open space. Main industries, agriculture is obviously big, but the hidden ones are, we have over 1,300 acres of outdoor recreation space in the town, which is a great asset, not just for Troy residents, but even across the river into Minnesota and the full St. Croix Valley. The other thing is we have a vast number of both indoor and outdoor meeting and event spaces that are hidden away. Some people know where they are, some don't, but we have 2 golf courses that both have spaces. The YMCA Camp St. Croix has a lot of great venues. The town has a few, and then there's some others scattered around, wedding venues and other kinds of things. So eventing, while it's not as visible, generally speaking, we've got a lot of great places if you need to host something. We had 38 new home starts in 2024. That's up from where we've been past years, so we're seeing good growth. Those are primarily utilizing lots that have been subdivided previously, but some of those subdivisions are now getting close to full. So we kind of anticipate that the market demand will start to push some more major subdivisions as property comes available for sale, and we see some changes there. We're seeing increased pressure for commercial development. We do have an area of the town that's we call land eligible for commercial rezoning, primarily in the Highway 35 corridor. Lots of conversation around some of those, around what people feel is appropriate and not appropriate for the town from a commercial development standpoint. But we also realize that that's one of the market segments that we need to help serve for the broader community as well. So trying to find the right balance between maintaining kind of what we have and the character that people like in Troy, as well as meeting the market demands both for housing and for commercial as the region evolves.
Thank you. And Stan.
Well, you won't need your 30-second sign, you know. I mean, the village of North Hudson, you know, we're, landlocked, you know, by you got the lake on one side and the river on the other side, and then we border up to the town of Hudson, and so we don't have a lot of room for a lot of development. We've got a couple big projects. We just had a concept plan from the developer that built or that bought the railroad property down by the dam, and he's planning on putting housing. Depends on in what we decide, you know, how it's going to work out, but it could be a nice development down there along there for some condos, and he plans on building his house there because he's tired of living in across the river. And so he wants to move into North Hudson. And so that's a big project that's being discussed right now. We have another, I'll call it the Zappa 40. It's just about 40 acres just on the northeast part of North Hudson that he's discussing development for that project or that area. There'll be quite a few houses and stuff being open up in there. And we've had recent development and improvements down in the shop yards, the old train yards down there. We've got one developer is putting in, I guess they call them car condos, or man caves or whatever it is. There's numerous ones around the area. Troy has one, and they've got up in Holton and stuff. They have them there, and they're very, very popular. And so it's nice to see because a lot of those buildings haven't really been kept upright, and but we're keeping that with the building and keeping look is like they did when they were first put up. We don't have, like I said, not a lot of space for anything. We've got one commercial property that's available, open for build or whatever that we have available, and a couple other businesses that we don't know what's going in there yet. So, but it's we're doing with what we can.
Wow.
Well, he shortened up that timer. I didn't rattle on that long. But no, I thank you for inviting us.
Thank you all. Each of our elected officials did receive these questions beforehand, so the next set of questions, we will give them 2 minutes. Given them a little framework, we've given them the title of the area and then a couple different questions that they can weave into their answers. But all of you have pieces of paper at your tables. Please feel free to write additional questions and then hold them up, and we'll have somebody pick them up, bring them up, and we'll ask those towards the end. We are going to start with Rob with our first set of questions. And this is all around challenges and opportunities. So what are the most pressing challenges your community is facing right now, and what opportunities are emerging that could help shape the future positively?
Well, I think right now we have the boosters have just been given an ordinance change so that in a zoning change for their property to put a youth athletic facility in, which would include baseball fields. And I'm sure there's lots of you in the audience that have kids that are in sports, and the biggest issue that we've heard from the boosters is that, of course, there's not enough fields, and the fields that they have are not up to par. So this is an opportunity for the community to get a great recreational facility. And so to accomplish that, I recently, with the help of the board, we appointed a local resident who has some experience as a former professional baseball player and been involved in building these type of fields on a similar board, added to our planning commission, which will help. That expertise, I think, will be good for the town. We've had a good relationship communicating with the boosters. Mr. O'Brien has my phone number. We've talked. I would like to see this be a field that is done right. We have an opportunity for something that's multi-generational for use. And so, listening to the neighbors who might be impacted, but also recognizing this is a huge community need. Having youth play outside rather than on their phones is really important. And so this, I think, in terms of development or opportunity, this is probably the biggest opportunity. So there's that.
Thank you. Rich, same question, challenges and opportunities.
All right, so I'll kind of pick up where I left off. One of our challenges that's going to impact the other communities around us is the fire department. As I said, we've got some great volunteers, but we're moving into an era right now where it's not realistic to rely on those volunteers to be working nights and weekends, and we're going to have to go into somewhat of a full-time situation and hire probably at the outset 5, and then move on from there and increasing our full-time complement as years go on. That's going to be a big ticket item. And as I said, it's going to impact all of the surrounding communities that are partners with us in the fire service. 11th Street Bridge is going to be a real challenge. When I say that, I should also include Carmichael Bridge. The Carmichael Bridge is presenting a huge problem to us that is impacting the 11th Street Bridge. That interchange was supposed to have been done by the Department of Transportation. Should have started right now. When I say the interchange, I'm talking exit 2. And but the Department of Transportation has now said that they're not going to do the bridge until at the earliest 2040, or in their words, until somebody actually dies at that intersection. And they have repeated that to us 2 more times. I've asked them flat out, is that what you said? Is that still your position? They said, yes, it is. So we need to fix 11th Street Bridge. The 11th Street Bridge was not meant to handle the type of traffic it is handling right now. Any work that's being done on the Carmichael Bridge, whether it's Band-Aid or looking to the future when that intersection is going to be done, is obviously going to detour all the traffic over to 11th Street, and then it's really compounded. And so that's a serious challenge that we have, is those bridges, and we're working on it. Again, big ticket items. Opportunities. Annexation, there's a proposal going on right now to annex property, to acquire property or property rights of way to go from the freeway up to the school district property at UU that would then get us contiguity for annexation to develop the UU property that's owned by the school district. And that will present some good opportunities, but also some challenges in the meantime.
Thank you. Theresa.
I think there's always a challenge when you serve on these boards, because you come into it not always having a lot of expertise and information. It's a 24/7 job. It never stops. And so for us in towns, because we have small staff, a lot of it does rest on our heads. And that's always a balancing, and to find the right staff that gets you to where you want to be. And I give St. Joseph credit, because we have great staff and great contractors that help us. We also have finance is always a big issue for towns, and how you manage to pay for all this. And we're building a new town hall that we borrowed some money to pay for, but most of it is not coming out of the taxpayers as an increase. We actually went down in taxes last year, so that was good for all of us. But you know, we're buying fire trucks like everybody else is, and we're fixing roads like everyone else is. The town has taken a different tact on this, and we started this 30 years ago, 35 now, is every 10 years we borrow money to do roads. And last time we borrowed $8 million, $7 million, we had $1 million in the bank, but we did $8 million worth of roads in one fell swoop over 2 years' time. That's a big chunk of change, but it also gets us done a big chunk of roads. We have fire trucks. Our big rigs are on an 8-year turnaround. So that means we hang on to them for 24 years. And every 8 years, we replace one of them. That's 3 big rigs that are going to cost us between $1 million and $1.5 million to replace. By putting them on an 8-year cycle, it keeps everyone's taxes level. And so that has been a challenge for us to figure out. But now that we're on this plan, it gives the taxpayer the understanding that these needs are covered for them, but not at an up and down, up and down, up and down. So it does make it a much easier thing to do. We also have land in the town that's available for commercial development that I'm hoping, as the future moves forward, that people will start looking at that interchange and realize the value of being there, because that is something that we are looking forward to developing. So that interchange area, there's about 110 acres there that's all up for commercial development.
Thank you. And Doug.
So the biggest short-term opportunities that we have are, number one, re-looking at optimizing all of our emergency services. So we have a couple of our long-term contracts, this is a theme you'll hear. We have a couple of our contracts that are coming up for renewal. Those tend to be very long-term, like multi-decade contracts. And so that gives us an opportunity to kind of re-look at how we're doing things and see how we can better optimize it. We've got great partners on emergency services on both the EMS side and the fire side, but we're trying to figure out, with the growth we've had in the town, some of the changing risk portfolios from an insurance industry standpoint as they're looking at managing and charging for risk differently. How do we think about optimizing that for the future? So that's a big short-term project that we're working on. the continual project is how do we balance meeting the service needs of the community with the limited funding that we have and financing things. So again, it's not a surprise. Every town in the state has the same constraints. Roads is a big funding piece. Parks is important to us as a key element of our budget, but also just maintaining the basic services that are required to keep things going. Longer term, the biggest challenges are appropriately managing growth without destroying the community and the culture that was built in Troy. That's why most of the people moved into the town, is they like the environment and the character of the community. And then that does run up against conflicting visions of how land use should be done in the future. So how we manage those conflicts, both with the market to a certain extent, but also in some cases to some of our neighbors, as to what the appropriate use of land might look like, as well as, I talked about commercial. We have a little commercial development in Troy, but we have more land that could be commercial, but doing that in a way that both helps the local community and is still compatible with the vision of what the town needs to be is a struggle. And we have a lot of very active dialogue around some individual projects where people are looking at ideas of how they would do that, and the community is wrestling with what does that mean and what does that look like, not just for the short term, but for the long term.
Thank you. Stan, same question.
Well, it's everybody has said, you know, one of the biggest challenges is being able to pay for the services that you know that people are accustomed to. You know, but plowing the streets and taking, you know, maintenance of our roads is very important. We've got excellent roads in the village of North Hudson, and our public works crew does an awesome job taking care of them and improving everything. We've got, you know, as Rich mentioned, you know, I know with the fire department, I know they're going to have some full-time people on, and so that right now we pay Hudson for the fire service, and that takes a considerable chunk out of our property taxes, our budget and stuff. So but it's very important to have a great fire department like we do have, and that's the biggest challenge is, all right, how can we keep our taxes in check, stay in the levy, and still be able to afford these services? So that's pretty much it, and then be able to have the balancing our budget. We've got a great staff, and you know, the opportunities. I said we don't have a lot of opportunities. I mean, I mentioned the railroad property and the Zappa 40 and the shop yards and stuff, but there's not a lot. We're only about a mile square, you know, we're in the village, and so it's you know, there's not a lot of room for development.
Thank you. Next question, we're going to start with Stan, is around the topic of regional collaboration and vision. So some of the guiding questions we gave is, in support of both business and community vitality, what actions are you taking to build a shared vision? And then how are you collaborating with neighboring communities to align plans and leverage regional strengths? So we'll start with you, Stan.
Well, like the regions, collaborating with the communities, like we said, fire department, we use Hudson for that, and sewer and water. We also use the facilities there, and so we work pretty closely with Hudson. I know our administrators are talking all the time, so they have lots of, to see what we can leverage and use for the community, to get along with our communities. We have St. Joe. We use their fire department is also does response in North Hudson. So we have both, on both sides of the village. We've got great fire coverage, and that's a very important part of our community. But as far as there's working with businesses. We've got, well, let's see, the laundromat is just about ready to open after we had the fire and stuff in the old Cozy Corner building. But I don't know. It's one of the best kept secrets in the village is what's going to go into the other side of that building, whether it's restaurant or whatever. But and then the Giovanni's apparently they're changing their business plan or whatever. They've been closed up for a few weeks now and stuff. But other than that, like I said, we don't have a lot of room for development, but we do have, you know, a few acres that for that, so it's a challenge just to find out, you know, how we're gonna pay for everything.
Thank you. Doug?
We couldn't do it alone, and we're lucky to have a lot of really strong, like-minded neighbors from a municipality standpoint in many respects. So we collaborate in a lot of different ways. Fire is probably the most important one, and EMS, but we also do joint road projects and collaboration, both to reduce cost and to find the most cost-effective vendors, and so that we don't do half of a road 1 year and 2 years later somebody does the other half of the road, and then collectively we just wasted some money by making one project into two, sort of thing. We do contract snow plowing for some of our neighbors, so there are some of the roads that we can plow more efficiently than whatever their primary snowplow provider is. So since we have a public works department, we can plow roads for people. And so we look for different areas where there's overlap and it makes economic sense and operational sense to work together. And I don't think any of us individually can do it on our own, because it is that complicated a mess. And the borders are in some ways artificial. I mean, they're historical in nature, but from a practical standpoint of making things work, they're just a line on a map. And so a lot of times the most efficient and effective way to do stuff is to either ignore the lines or blur the lines a little bit to really make it work. The other thing we're trying to figure out is how to do a better job on land use planning and making that more compatible from a neighboring standpoint. Most of the formal plans are based on the boundaries of the municipality, but where they overlap and where they intersect is where both the most opportunity resides, but also where some of the most conflict can come from. So we're trying to figure out better ways to make those interfaces work from a land use planning standpoint. I won't say we figured it all out, but we're making strides.
Okay, thank you. Theresa?
I think there's always challenges to collaboration with other municipalities because everyone has their own idea about how things can and should work. The town of St. Joseph's kind of in a special place. We are up against the town of Somerset, the town of Richmond, and the town of Hudson. And the only extraterritorial control over us comes from the village, just in the very southern part of the town. So we're kind of on our own out there in some respects. We don't have to collaborate with the city or anything like that that would force us into trying to make decisions based on something that they may want or do. We have our own fire department. We contract with our ambulance service with Lakeview. So we do a lot of things also across the river. So we have that collaboration too. I have a great relationship with all of those around us. I do make those calls when they're needed. Same way with St. Croix County. We try to have that dialogue that goes on with things that affect our town and what goes on there. So it is a challenge every step of the way. I agree with Doug. I think planning for the future is one of the hardest things to do, especially when things have been done different in the past. St. Joe's sitting on a ton of land, and I mean a ton of land that's sitting there with farmers that are aging out that is going to start dropping. You're going to see land drop in that town in the next 10 years. It's going to be phenomenal. And they deserve to be able to subdivide or develop that land in the manner that they expected to do, that is their retirement. That's hard for people because people expect that that farm field they're looking at is going to be there for the rest of their lives. And it's not. But how do you do that and make it work where not everyone has to look at the backyard of a house? So we do have ordinances in place that preserve land, and we hope in the future that as we see those come in, that we can push them in a direction that allows that to happen. So it is a big, big challenge to look at that future and see what that picture is going to look like.
Thank you. And Rich?
So, fortunately, in this position, much of what I was going to say has already been talked about because of the boundaries that we share. I can say this. We have a great culture in our communities of cooperating with one another. And when I came into office, we just picked up where Al and Dean and Jack had left off. I've had great relationships down in Troy with Ray Knapp and with Dan and now Doug. Great relationship with Stan. with the town of Hudson, had a great relationship with Jeff Johnson, and then Don, and now Rob, developing that relationship. And even though we don't share any boundaries, Theresa and I have had a great relationship working together on different things. One thing I can tell you is that if there's ever an issue that involves our surrounding communities, everybody here at the table will pick up the phone and call whoever needs to be called at the table here. We've got that type of relationship. So when we have shared boundaries, we do have shared roads. Doug referenced that. We have the issue coming up here now at the town where we're going to be working through if everything goes the way they say that it's going with Derrick Construction, we'll be talking about the future annexation of that property to get to the UU property that the school district owns, which brings also into the conversation the school district. And we have a great relationship with Nick and the board with the school district and the issues that we work through with them as well. UU property being one of those. So we've done a lot in working together. You talked about the essential services. EMS was a big one, and that was a difficult struggle to convince people that our St. Croix EMS, as good as the people were and committed, was not sustainable. And working with Stan and Jeff through that issue was pretty critical to all of our communities, and very critical to all the populations in the communities by reducing response times and having a service that we knew was always going to be there.
Thank you. And Rob.
Thanks. Well, and I, to Rich's credit, right as soon as the election happened, and reached out and said we need to have a meeting and talk and get to know each other. Bob Long did the same at the county. It's been wonderful welcoming, I guess, from all the surrounding people, and I just want to acknowledge that. So I've had those meetings. I see our sheriff every day because I work in the DA's office, so obviously I see our law enforcement partners every day, which I've worked with law enforcement for 26 years, and that has been kind of my passion, representing them, working with them through the prosecutor's offices, et cetera. So I have a good relationship with our sheriff as well. I went to the big event at the fire hall to get to talk to some of the folks at the fire. We have our committee that I'll be part of for the law enforcement fire, committee. In terms of, cooperation, I think that is already been said, that it is definitely that culture. Obviously on the issue of annexation, I have to look out for our constituents' interests, which, no surprise to Rich, is that a lot of folks are not happy about the potential of leaving the town of Hudson and being part of the city of Hudson. So, but there's challenges there, but it's nothing that we have a meeting that we're going to have together to talk a little bit more about that. But I think even though those positions might be adverse, I'm looking forward to a good relationship in that way. So yeah.
You still have 30 seconds left, Rob.
I get to the point.
I mean, I just want to touch base on this. How many areas have communities such as we have here that they communicate so well together and that they'll pick up the phone for each other? So that's a kudos to all of you for working together for our area. So thank you. We still have more questions you can take, and if you don't want to ask a question for the entire group, you can make them specifically for individuals. Like, I've got a lot for Rich right now. So we're going to start with you, Rob. On the next question they're all around managing change. Some of the guiding questions are, how is your community approaching change, whether demographic, economic, technological, or social? And what strategies or framework do you use to ensure change is managed effectively and inclusively?
Well, as I mentioned in my kind of opening comments, change is hard. And, we had as the chairman, somebody had been on the board for 40 years. Am I right, Theresa? 30?
Probably 32.
Yeah. So, change is hard. And one of the things that I want to see for change is to, modernize the way we disseminate information with our citizens. Just at the last board meeting, we brought up an agenda item, and now we're going to have the meetings videoed and put out on the website, and that was approved. So that's something that, in today's world, especially folks, me and maybe younger, this is their primary means of getting information is online versus a paper or, unfortunately not talking to your neighbors as much, right? But that's the reality of the world we live in. So that any way we can make it easier for people to get information at town hall, that's what I really, really want to have happen. We're currently only open 3 days a week. There's a little bit of resistance to going to 5 days a week, but I looked at the towns who are 7,000 people and above, keeping in mind we're the third largest township in the state of Wisconsin. And we're the only one that isn't open 5 days a week. And so for us, for my priorities, I would really like to see somebody be able to come and do a permit or pay their dog tab or whatever they need to pay on a Friday, on a Thursday. And we have a lot of commuters in our community that work across the river. And so getting back to town hall by 5 o'clock maybe isn't possible. And so I'd like to see some expanded hours. So these things are hard though, because people are set in, this is the way we've always done it, which I hate that answer, because that is not a valid reason to do anything, right? I think that being new, a fresh perspective, we will have an opportunity to ask, why are we doing it this way? Is there a way we can do it better? And we're a township, and there's definitely some rooted feelings that change is scary, and so I've got my work cut out for me. There's no doubt about that. But my main goal is let's just make it easier for people to interact with our township and get information and know what's going on, and so that was a big part of what my goal is. So, thanks.
Thank you. And Rich?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes, managing change and the guidelines around this is how is your community approaching change, whether demographic, economic, technological, or social? And what strategies or framework do you use to ensure change is managed effectively and inclusively? You had these, we sent them to you.
No, I know, but 2 or 3 minutes, you got 5 questions in there.
There'll be time at the end.
All right, so how do we manage change? First of all, we have tremendous staff. We've had huge turnover in staff since 2016 when I was first elected, and through retirements mostly. Our police chief retired, our fire chief retired, and we had community development director retired. We have young staff right now that are so energetic, so smart, so good at what they do, and they embrace change. And I would say that the council, for the most part, embraces change. And we generally go along with suggestions that come from our staff because they are so good. So it's just a natural consequence of the fact that we have this young, energetic staff that everybody is embracing change. You see, as we have this dynamic in our city where everybody loves Hudson and they want Hudson to stay the way it is. We have this great community and they want it to stay the way it is. It can't, right? Bob Dylan said, either you're busy being born or you're busy dying. And that's true. And I grew up in a community east side of St. Paul, and I watched it stagnate because nothing was being done. And people wanted to keep the community the way it was. We can't do that. So in order to survive, we need to all embrace change, and we need to accept the fact that things are going to change, but we still want that community feeling. We still want that quaint feeling. I was introduced to Hudson back in the 60s from the river. I fell in love in the 60s, and it was just a matter of when, not if. And it was 99 when we finally moved our family here. So I don't know if I've answered all of those questions. I tried to touch on as many as I could, but we'll have more time at the end.
And just so you know, these questions are just giving you a framework so you can answer around them. All of our elected officials are always going to be available. You can call them up at 3 in the morning if you want to ask them a question. But they're available. And that's why we're so proud to have them here today, because they are making themselves available to all of you. So thank you. Theresa.
When I first became chair back in, I think it was 2001, the first call I got was from the Wisconsin DOT about a bridge. There's a bridge coming. Do you know there's a bridge coming? And we need your input. At the time, I was unaware about the impacts. And when you talk about change, there's no greater change to the St. Croix River Valley than what that bridge brought across that river. And it continues to impact not just the ones in this room, but everything to the east. I feel like the town did a good job of getting themselves placed in the right area to have the right plans in place to handle what was going to come at them. And yet you don't know it all until it does happen. It was hard for people to envision what that was going to look like and how it was going to impact us, because St. Joe had been kind of a closed community up until that point, and that just blew the doors open. I embrace change. I think change is good for everybody. It's hard. It's hard when, like I say, you look out at that cornfield and it's not going to be a cornfield anymore. But I think you all need to see that and have staff in place and have people that you're working with that get it and know how to process that, move it forward, and put the plans and the policies in place that can manage that. So I think we're lucky. I think we're lucky that St. Joe looks like it does even after that bridge came through. I think it's a great, great asset to the St. Croix River Valley, but it definitely was a major impact that I don't think anybody in this room had any idea of until it opened its doors. So in that respect, I think we've done a good job.
And Doug?
Communication is the biggest challenge and opportunity for managing change. What we've generally found is if we can have the right conversations with the right people who are concerned about something, there's always a solution in the middle. But if you don't have the right communication, it just turns into conflict. And so managing that conversation to make sure that one, people are heard, and two, that all the competing ideas and forces are represented in the solution. But that's a challenge also, because that takes time, that takes energy. Many times it takes emotion. There's passion, both on the good side and the bad side of some of these topics as we're trying to navigate the path forward. And there's uncertainty, and it intersects. And sometimes there's issues with what are we allowed to do by state law. In some cases, restricts sometimes how we can formulate solutions. But that's the number one thing. The other thing that we're doing is we've dramatically changed our staff in the town to be prepared for the future. We've taken part-time roles into full-time roles. We are also considering expanded office hours now that we have more full-time staff that could be there more days of the week, because that is, from a convenience standpoint, a critical kind of issue. And then we're looking for what other capabilities do we need to bring in-house in the town, or what other things can we leverage from our neighbors more effectively to meet the needs and the challenges of the community as it changes. But it's always a balancing act. But in the center of it is we are going to change. The market demands that we change. Troy tries to focus on what are the things we can uniquely provide to the region rather than trying to duplicate things that other communities are better at, because then we have a portfolio of opportunities more broadly in the area. And if we focus on the stuff we're good at, then Rich can focus on his stuff, and Theresa can focus on her stuff, and Stan can focus on his, and Rob, et cetera, as well as River Falls to the southern end. Everybody doesn't need to do the same thing to meet all the different market segments that are demanding for growth, development, and things that are out there. So we're trying to focus on what we think we can do the best.
Thank you. And Stan?
Okay, change. Like we said before, we don't have a lot of change going on in the village. I built my house there in '84, and there, other than we've added some, housing projects and stuff, and and when you add more housing, you have people moving in from other areas that or other states or whatever, and that's one of the major things is, well, we like to do this, we would like to do that, and it's like, well, it's hard to get all of those things done, and to try to keep everybody happy. We've we have a outstanding staff that that answers questions. I mean, in response to the citizens, and we try to, and our board is still the same. We didn't have any changes this year, so we've got and we all respond to to the folks that call. You know, you can call, you can go on the website, you can do anything, and we try to respond to the changes as we can, as we best see how it works.
Thank you. We are going to head into the last question that we sent you beforehand, and then we have some questions from the audience. We're going to start with you, Stan. You wouldn't be in the position you are if you didn't care about your communities. What are you most proud of?
Well, for me, myself, what I'm most proud of is our, how our residents all work together. When we've had storms and things come through, the neighbors all, kind of go and help out. Hey, you got a chainsaw, you got this, and the last one we had, there was chainsaws going before our guys even got out in the streets, and so that's a big thing. But our staff is phenomenal. We're I don't like to say we're at full staff right now, because that usually jinxes us and somebody moves on or whatever. But no, our we've got our administrative side is our administrator, a treasurer, and a part-time clerk treasurer, and there's just three of them, and then in the part-time clerk, she's there only a couple days a week, so a lot of times when somebody's sick, we got one person in the room, and they all step up and do what it takes to get that done. Our public works crew, that's another one. We've got 3 guys on that crew, and you're the director and 2 staff, and they do a phenomenal job. With the snowstorms and everything, or that one storm we had when we got all that really heavy wet snow, I know they cleaned up the streets, and then they went around and were helping people with their driveways, because we had snow piles as high as the back of my truck, so they've done a great job. The police department is fabulous. Our newest officer, he's on his 2nd stage, I think, in his training, so hopefully by the end of June, I think he'll be on his own. And that's the biggest thing, is that how the residents work together, and our staff is fabulous, and we do respond when people get a hold of us.
Thank you. Doug, what are you most proud of?
The people in Troy and how they care about the community and how it will be evolving, I think, is the number one thing, because that's the basis for everything else. But the overlay on top of that is probably their general care for the environment and the outdoor space that we have. Being part of the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway gives us a unique responsibility to help to manage that natural resource. And we've got over 6 miles of the St. Croix River that borders Troy. For those that don't know, we have a yacht club, we have 2 beaches, and we have a boat launch in Troy, which again is part of our commitment to managing that. But we also have been consistently a key leader in something called the St. Croix River Partnership Team, which is a coalition of the National Park Service, the Wisconsin DNR, the Minnesota DNR, and all the municipalities along the Riverway are invited to participate in that. There's a new effort that just is getting launched that was led by one of our board members in Troy. Most people know where the St. Croix River is, but most people don't know where the land around the St. Croix River needs to be managed in a special way, because it's in the National Scenic Riverway. Everybody knows about the water part, but most people don't pay attention to the land part. And there's a new program being put in place to put up signage when you're entering the St. Croix Riverway from the land side. This will help realtors to know when they're selling a property that's in the Riverway, because it has very specific requirements for how you manage your property. It'll help contractors to make sure they don't break the rules. It'll help minimize violations, we hope, so that the county has less work to do dealing with people who don't follow the special Riverway rules, and hopefully help to preserve the Riverway in the way it's meant to be. So that's something you'll see coming. Troy will probably be the first town to get the signs up to recognize that, but it's something it's a voluntary activity for both sides of the river. Minnesota and Wisconsin will have the same signage all the way up and down the St. Croix Riverway to mark where that land boundary is, so people can help to manage the environment better.
Thanks, Doug. Theresa.
It's hard to know where to start on that because I'm proud of the boards that we've had in the town that have looked forward and talked about the future and made plans for the future. We've had great staff. We have great contractors through our legal team and our engineering firm. We're lucky in so many respects that we've found good people to work with us. I think it takes a full team to run any municipality, and when you're smaller, it still takes that full team. You can't do it on your own. I'm very proud of our firefighters who are also our first responders in our town. We have mutual aid with everyone around us, including Stillwater, and they respond to tons and tons of calls everywhere. And they do an amazing job. They're well funded and they're well trained, and we're lucky to have them. So I am very proud of all of them, but I'm also mostly proud of the residents of the town who step up and are involved. As I said to you in my opening statement with all the committees we have, I'm lucky because people are always anxious to serve, and it gives them some background. It gives them some understanding of what it takes to run a town. This is not like a business. In some respects it is, but in most respects it's not. There's a lot of law that governs you. There's a lot of law that you have to operate under that you don't operate under in business. So for them to serve on these committees, it gives them that basis to that and allows them, if they want to step up into the board in a future way, they can. So I really appreciate the fact that so many people step up to the table and say, I will serve, I will help, I want to know, I want to find out. So in our respect, that's great. And we went under our own zoning about 2020 during the pandemic, and we had a great group of people that helped us with that. So I think, it's really good to have them involved.
Thank you. Rich.
So I'm proud to say that I live in Hudson. I've wanted to live here, as I said earlier, since I first was introduced to Hudson in the 60s. The people here are fantastic. I'm very proud of them, and I'm proud to say that me and my family are part of this community. With respect to my time in office, I am extremely proud of the work that we did to bring the Lakeview EMS service into our town. You've heard me talk about this. You will continue to hear me talk about it. It was quite a struggle that lasted for years over the course of 2 re-election campaigns. But ultimately we fought through the adversity and brought a quality, life-saving service, not just to our community, but also to the town of Hudson, as well as the village. And I'm sorry, Doug, and also Troy. Also Troy, yep. I'm proud of the measured development that we've overseen over the course of the last 9 years. I think it's important to our community. We don't want to move too fast, but we can't move too slow at the same time. I'm proud to look at the transformation of our riverfront. When I first ran for office, I said this is a river city. It's what attracted me to Hudson in the first place. I'm a romantic about river cities. I'm a Mark Twain fan, a Huckleberry fan, Tom Sawyer fan, and that's what attracted me to Hudson in the first place. And I wanted to make sure that we reclaimed and enhanced our identity as a river city. I didn't want our downtown turning its back to the river. It used to be the front door. We didn't have streets. We didn't have railroads coming into Hudson. It was the front door. And I wanted people to recognize that Hudson is a welcoming river city from the river as well as from the streets. I'm also proud to say that we did this with keeping taxes low. We've kept our taxes very low, and we've been very responsible and responsive to our taxpayers. Maybe more importantly is I'm very proud of the Golden Rule Initiative. I believe it's had an impact in our community, and we need to once again bring respect, civility, and understanding to our everyday conversations with our friends, family, and with people we don't know. So I'm proud for that initiative, not to mention, don't forget, the Booyah. October 5th, Saturday, October 5th. Is my time up?
Time's up. Rob.
Well, so let me start with what I'm proud about the community. We have a thirst for involvement by our citizens. We had a huge, high percentage turnout in the election on an off-year April election. We have very high involvement, civic involvement. And so that makes me proud that we have a community that wants to be involved. It also makes me proud just the natural beauty of this town. You know, like Rich, I lived in St. Paul for, 16, 17 years. And, looking out the back of my deck just to see the natural beauty, I'm really proud of it, and I'd like to keep it that way. And I think most of our town residents feel that exact same way, that, the natural beauty is important. And now, in terms of community assets, I'm very proud of our sheriff's department. Our sheriff's department, I've worked with literally hundreds and hundreds of police departments, and our sheriff's office here is wonderful. I work with these officers on a daily basis in court. They are professional to the nth degree. Hudson has a great police department. I've worked with a lot of those officers. So in terms of community asset, I'm really proud of our law enforcement. And, the thing that I want to make sure that public safety stays a priority too. Currently in our township, we don't have a dedicated car. Someday, that'd be great to have. Because we do have that asset. You'd be surprised at how thin the line is between good and bad out there every day that the law enforcement officers have to deal with, and the respect they give our citizens as well. So I'm really proud of those assets. I'm proud to work at the DA's office. We're trying our best to keep our community safe. So the things I will be proud of, because again, I'm so new. If we can put together a top-notch youth facility through the boosters, I'll be proud of that. If we have no citizens who feel like they didn't get the information they need from town hall, I'll be proud of that. So those are things that I want to work towards and be proud of to improve. Thanks.
Thank you. We have a few questions. Some of the questions have already been answered through our questions, but a couple areas that maybe some of the municipalities haven't touched on. Doug, you talked about nature and outdoors with the river and so forth. Rich, you talked a little bit about it as well. What are other areas doing in regards to outdoor spaces that help with the mental health issues that we're facing in our communities? Real quick, if anybody wants to pipe up on what you're doing, if there's anything.
Well, I guess some of the things in Troy, if you're not familiar with it, Carpenter Nature Center has a new nature building, but they have 350 acres that you can wander and spend all kinds of time in nature. YMCA Camp St. Croix is over 400 acres, and they have wonderful programs for all ages, including being the home to the Hudson Pickleball Association, if you're interested in that. Within Troy, we've got a 40-acre central park called Glover Park, which is hiking trails, baseball fields, community kitchen, and other venues, which is a great hidden gem. 2 golf courses if you like golf. And if you're into horses, tons of horse boarding facilities and riding and training spaces. So there's a bunch of things to do in Troy. We're encouraging both private development of those activities, because most of those acres I talked about are not town sponsored. They're just in the town because we've created an environment that they can be economically created and maintained for the long term. We also have a yacht club on the river, St. Croix Yacht Club, if people are on the boating side. So there's lots out there, but we also have more land available that could be converted into that if people have a dream. So if you have a dream, bring it to Troy and see if you can find a landowner to partner with you.
Anybody else, real quickly?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go?
I would say the same thing with respect to parks. We have a tremendous park system. One of the people that I failed to mention, only because I was running out of time, is Mike Mraz, who is the head of our Public Works Department and Parks, who, again, another young, energetic person that came in who's doing a fantastic job. He has overseen Universal Park up at Wekkin, as well as now the splash pad coming in this summer, providing more opportunities in lakefront and on the dike for people who want to go on their walks and just commune with nature that way. We have fishing now on the boardwalk on the river, so I think that being outdoors enhances people's well-being, mental, physical well-being, and those are things that we've paid a lot of close attention to. We've got a great park system, and it's well run by Mike Mraz. Sorry, Theresa.
No,
Theresa.
that's fine. The town of St. Joseph has a lot of parkland. I should have looked up how much it is, because we have most of Willow River State Park is actually in the town of St. Joseph. Even though the entrance is in Hudson, it's in the town of St. Joe. We also have Eckerd Blufflands, which is the county park that the county is developing along the river. We have the other county park Homestead, which we have 80 acres adjoining it. It's called the Preserve with walking trails in it. Very remote, very quiet, wonderful place to be. We also have that lovely 3-mile loop trail going around the 2 bridges that if you've not done that, oh my goodness, do that. It is a phenomenal walk. Everybody should experience it at least once in your life, to have traffic going by you at 65 miles an hour with a concrete barricade. My grandchildren are always fearful of that, and I'm like, no, it'll be fine, don't you worry. So we have lots of opportunities along with the river, but we own land on the river, the town of St. Joseph does. We own the old Wayside rest stop. And right now, we just keep it wild. We have no plans to develop it, but the state offered it to us for an extreme amount of money at $38,000, and we jumped at it. And so that's ours for the future, and it may get developed in the future, but right now it's just there. If you want to pull your car over and walk over to the bluff and look, you get to do that. So it's a great natural area for us. So we're lucky, and we also have our town park with the trail and the playground and everything that's there. So feel free to stop out.
Cool. We are going to go into closing statements, but a couple questions we did not get to that if you want to wrap into your closing statements would be great. There are 3 questions in here about the dang boat, Rich. The 11th Street Bridge, which would be a whole other 2-hour session. Rob, partnership with the soccer fields from your area, since you're talking about the baseball fields as well. But those are some additional questions that came up from our audience. So we will start with Stan. Give us under 2 minutes a closing statement about your role and what you're excited about and moving forward.
Well, I mean, I was fortunate to be reelected again, and it's it's been a lot of the different challenges that come up. I mean, in the developments, we've had also have a plentiful park system. We've got 13 parks in the village, and we were constantly improving. We just added a couple more pickleball courts since that's a big pickup, and But like I said, we've got. This job is not so hard to do when you've got staff that we've got, and that's the one thing that I thank God for every day.
Thank you. Doug.
First, I want to thank the Chamber for having this event because it's great to interact. You can call me anytime if you got follow-on questions, but like when Chris calls at 3 a.m, you might go to voicemail unless you're the county sheriff. So, but I will respond, and that goes for all of our board. We like getting input and feedback and having conversations about people's ideas because that's how we figure out where the future is going to come from. But thanks for the interaction today.
Yes, thank you again. I said thanks in the beginning, but thank you again. Feel free anytime to contact any of us on the board and myself. I try not to answer my phone at 3 a.m. unless it is the sheriff or dispatch calling me because it's a little disruptive at times. But as I said, we're 24/7, so feel free. I invite you, all of you, to take a look at the town of St. Joseph if you want to relocate your business or relocate your residents. We are a great community and a great place to be with great staff and a great fire department. And feel free to come on out. So thank you.
Rich.
I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here today. I will go anywhere, anytime to talk about the City of Hudson. People know that, and especially timekeepers understand that. But I do appreciate the opportunity to be here. I always enjoy being here in the company of the Chamber. So to pick up on 11th Street, I think we covered that, both the bridge and the construction going on 11th Street. I think that's going to take us until about the end of July, something like that. And then hopefully we will get construction on 11th Street. We do have the attention of the DOT. We've got the attention of Tammy Baldwin's office, Ron Johnson's office, Tom Tiffany's office, and our governor's office about the need for redoing those bridges. With respect to the boat, It's still there. And I'm not sure, I believe somebody is going to take it off here pretty soon, but I'll say this. We have legislation that's going through both the Wisconsin legislature and the Minnesota legislature to criminalize this activity. We can't have people feeling that they can just abandon their junk and think that somebody's going to come in and clean it up. This is an environmental hazard. That boat in particular has at least twin 100-gallon tanks, gasoline tanks. And I can't say that they were full when that boat went there, but I know, because I spend time out there, I know that the gasoline and oil was leaking out of that boat. We alerted the DOT, or the Department of Natural Resources, to this, and they said it's not their responsibility. We got in their face pretty hard about it, because whose responsibility is it? If it's not their responsibility to protect our environment, then whose responsibility is that? And I'm not happy with the DNR at all. In Minnesota, we've got a great sponsor of legislation, Judy Seeberger, Senator Seeberger, who has passed legislation through both the Environment Committee and the Judiciary Committee to criminalize this activity, as well as to revoke and deny any access to any other permitting for natural resource recreational activity until these things are cleaned up and paid for. Hunting, fishing, RVs, watercraft, etc. We have a bill. We gave the language to Shannon. We talked about this the other day to Shannon and to Rob. Unfortunately, they stripped out the part about revoking and denying access to other permits. Hopefully, we will get that back in. I see you looking at me like that, Theresa. Call them and tell them it should be back in the bill.
I'll do that.
And anybody else that's interested. All right, the DNR in Minnesota has promised Judy Seeberger, Senator Seeberger, that if and when she passes this bill, they will remove that boat. All right, so that her bill, with the language I just told you about, passed both those committees without amendment and without a single vote in opposition, supported by their DNR. We don't have the same luxury over here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rich. And Rob.
Well, thank you again. I am excited to be here, not only to this event, just to be in this position to hopefully help the community of our township and the greater community as a whole. So I think you said there was a question in there.
The soccer fields and the partnership with your municipality.
So all youth sports is important. So let me say that first of all. You know, the difficulty lies in projects that were already completed and, you know, the neighbors had their process to get their sort of ordinances. One of the things that I'm proud of is the idea to rezone the Boosters property. That was something that I thought would maybe prevent some opposition to the project going forward. And so the board before me had taken my suggestion and adopted it, which is really cool, that now the Boosters will get that opportunity. So there's also more land in that zone for soccer, for a covered facility that I know that the Soccer Association wants to have. So there's opportunities still there because of the rezoning of that district. They're currently owned by other people, but like Theresa said a long time ago, this land is going to become available. So, but other than that, I'm super excited to be here, and you know, like I said, I don't know what I don't know, but we're going to be a quick learn, and we're going to get it done. So, thank you.
All right, please join me in thanking our elected officials today. Thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Chris, for moderating. Great job. And as I said, you know, we have the opportunity to work with all of these great leaders, and they are available if you have questions or concerns. So feel free to reach out to them. Thank you again to Christensen Community Homes and Services for hosting us today. We greatly appreciate that, and to our speakers and to Chris. So I look forward to seeing you at upcoming events. Please enjoy the rest of the day and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.